Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are zeroing in on Lesson 29 from our absolutely trusty source, 504 Absolutely Essential Words. Now, we're not just going to sit here and read a boring list. No way. We're taking these 12 essential words and breaking them down into bite-sized thematic chunks so they actually stick in your brain for good. Let's get right into it.
So, here is our roadmap for today. First up, hardships and mistakes. 2, impact and clarity. 3, finality and status. 4th, we'll do a spotlight deep dive on the word maim. And finally, number 5, we're going to put you to the test with your new vocabulary.
We are pulling directly from the raw source material of Lesson 29 today. And if you look at how it's structured, it's pretty brilliant. Every entry gives you the word, the phonetic spelling, a crystal clear definition, and most importantly, those sample sentences for real-world context. We're going to mine this information for its absolute best insights.
Section 1, hardships and mistakes. Toil, blunder, daze, mourn.
First up is toil. It means hard work, to work hard, or to move with difficulty. The real key here is that toil isn't just everyday work. It implies a heavy, almost exhausting level of effort. The source paints this super vivid picture of a feeble old man who toiled up the hill. I mean, you can practically feel how heavy his steps are, right? But it's not just physical. The text points out how scientists toiled after announcing they'd made progress on a dreaded disease. So mental or physical struggle, that is the very essence of toil.
Next, we have blunder. A blunder is a stupid mistake, or to stumble and say something clumsily. This is a great example of how versatile our language is. A blunder can be totally physical, like the book's example of a completely exhausted boy who blundered through the woods, just tripping over everything in his path. But it can also be a massive, high-stakes error in judgment, like when a general's blunder forced his army to a rapid retreat. So whether you're tripping over a tree root or making a terrible tactical decision, you are blundering.
Which brings us right to daze, literally defined as to confuse. But the source sentences show us exactly how that confusion hits. It's almost always a sudden, overwhelming external force. For example, a heavy physical blow can daze the fighter and lead to his defeat. Or it could be pure sensory overload. The text mentions a child wandering out at night, completely dazed by the noise and the lights. It's that shocking, momentary loss of all clarity.
Wrapping up our first chunk, we have mourn, meaning to grieve or feel and show sorrow for. The textbook gives a deeply personal example here, Sandra, who did not cease to mourn her lost friend. But then it scales that exact same emotion all the way up, talking about an entire city that mourned for the people lost in the calamity. It's an incredibly powerful word for expressing deep loss, whether that's just you in your own life or a whole society.
Section 2, impact and clarity. Subside, maim, comprehend, command.
Let's start with subside, which means to sink to a lower level or grow less. I absolutely love the imagery the text uses here. Picture excessive rains finally stopping, allowing the floodwaters to subside, just washing away and lowering. But it works perfectly for emotions too. The text notes that Danny's anger subsided when the culprit apologized. It's all about that intense, boiling energy finally settling down.
Our next word packs a serious punch, maim. It means to cripple, disable, or cause to lose an arm, leg, or other body part. The source is pretty blunt about this, noting that auto accidents maim many persons each year. Though it does add a silver lining, pointing out that seatbelts can, quote, prevent the maiming of passengers. Keep this one in your back pocket, because we're going to do a super interesting deep dive on the legal nuance of the word maim in just a minute.
Shifting from physical impact to mental clarity, we get comprehend, which simply means to understand. And the textbook drops this brilliant piece of meta-advice right in its first example sentence. It says, if you can use a word correctly, there is a good chance that you comprehend it. Honestly, that is the entire philosophy behind this explainer. When you truly comprehend these words, you can wield them like a pro in your daily life.
Wrapping up our second chunk is commend, meaning to praise or to hand over for safekeeping. The text illustrates the praise side of things wonderfully, mentioning how everyone commended the mayor's thrifty suggestion. And let's be real, as the source points out, the truth is that we all like to be commended for good work. It's just a fantastic, elevated word to use when you want to shout out someone's great contribution, especially in a professional setting.
Section 3, finality and status. Final, exempt, vain, repetition.
Word number 9 is final, meaning coming last or deciding. The textbook hits us with a highly relatable and maybe slightly stressful example for anyone who's ever been a student. The final week of the term is rapidly approaching. It really carries that weight of culmination, right? The ultimate deciding point of whatever endeavor you're tackling.
And that leads logically right into our next word, exempt, which means to make free from or freed from. So how do these connect? Well, the source gives us a dream scenario. Our school exempts bright pupils from final exams. Seriously, imagine that relief. You can also use it in structural contexts, like how certain school property is exempt from most taxes.
Next up is vain, which deals entirely with personal status and ego. It means having way too much pride in one's abilities or looks, but it can also mean of no use, like a vain attempt. The source really leans into the personality trait aspect here. We meet a character named Josephine, who is described as quite vain about her beauty. And then, in a beautifully blunt follow-up, the text says, "To be perfectly frank, I do not see what she has to be vain about." A little bit of textbook drama to help you lock in that definition.
Our 12th and final word from Lesson 29 is repetition, the act of doing or saying something again. This is perfectly fitting because repetition is literally the exact strategy we're using right now to master these lists. By seeing the word, hearing the definition, and exploring the sentences together, we are using repetition to permanently wire this knowledge into your brain.
Section 4. Spotlight. The word MAME. A deep dive into nuance.
Okay, so the textbook points out something incredibly interesting that you might have missed. If you ever read the fine print on an auto insurance policy, you'll notice they never use words like MAME carelessly. Why? Because legally, that word is incredibly specific. MAME strictly dictates the permanent loss or destruction of an arm, a leg, or both. To be maimed means a permanent injury, period. The text asks a great question. Would the insurance company use a word like mutilate instead? Definitely not, because mutilate just implies severe damage, whereas MAME legally locks in the permanent functional loss of a limb. It just goes to show you, exactly which word you choose matters immensely in the real world.
Section 5. Test your vocabulary, application and active recall.
All right, time to put you to the test. The source text actually provides fill-in-the-blank exercises for Lesson 29, which require you to recall the correct word based purely on context clues. I pulled out one specific sentence from the book for us to solve together right now.
Here is your challenge. Fill in the blank. A blank of such a blunder could be disastrous. Think back through the thematic chunks we just covered. We already have the word blunder in there, a stupid mistake. So what action related to a stupid mistake would be totally disastrous? Would it be a toil? A daze? Go ahead and lock in your guess.
Got it? The answer is repetition. A repetition of such a blunder could be disastrous. I mean, doing that stupid mistake again? Absolute catastrophe. Notice how cleverly the authors wove two of the lesson's essential words, repetition and blunder, into a single sentence, to force your brain to actively recall them both. Genius.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Lesson 29. So, I want to leave you with one final provocative question. Which of these 12 essential words are you actually going to use in a real conversation today? Are you going to commend a colleague at work? Will you try to comprehend a complex article? Don't let this explainer be in vain. Take these words off the screen and put them to work. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.